This is Mags on Media, the special washroom edition. Let's continue. Now, you'll remember he famously raced a cheetah a while back, and now he is racing an aeroplane. Star winger Bryan Habana has lent his name to a clever new campaign for British Airways, which pits muscle against machine. And he races the brand new Super Jumbo, the Airbus A380. This really does hit advertising's jackpot. It's got celebrity, it's got narrative, and as you'll see, it's got intrigue.
I think this has got to rank right up there with some of the craziest things I've ever had to do. A couple of years back, I did a race against a cheetah that became pretty public, and I think racing this A380 this morning, British Airways' new animal, going to be pretty tough.
We've got 4 Rolls-Royce Trent 900 engines. Each one produces 70,000 pounds of thrust, so we're going to accelerate very, very quickly indeed. We'll get airborne about 140 miles an hour, and we can fly it up to 600 miles an hour when we're airborne. So I'll give him a wave as we go past.
Yeah, it's got no chance. I've been playing with Bryan for a long time, and Bryan's very quick, but it's a big piece of machinery and that plane's very fast. So yeah, good luck to Bryan, but I think it's a no contest, to be honest.
I'd definitely say I'm up for the challenge. Hopefully, I can make South Africa proud.
You can let us know what you think of the campaign on our Facebook page on this address. Now, mention the word sustainability, and most of us are likely to fall asleep, even if we are in the washroom. So how do you market the concept and also the valuable work that brands are doing in this particular respect? The views now of Trish Wheaton, the Chief Marketing Officer at the agency Wunderman.
Responsible business to me means business that is truly sustainable.
Are we ready to get our hands dirty?
Sustainability, of course, is the umbrella term for a number of issues that roll up under that really contribute to social good, whether it is doing social marketing or environmental awareness or anything that really contributes to life on this planet. And at first it started kind of small down in the RFP process, and then it grew and grew. So I said, okay, there's something here we need to look at. What are brands around the world doing in this? It's what I call planet brands. So the major brands around the planet really are deeply into the area of sustainability. If you rhyme off the brands we all recognize around the world and check out what they're doing quite a bit. I think it's not a trend. I think it's a fact and not a fad. It's not going to go away. This is when you really get into looking at what brands are doing, particularly around the environment, how they're changing their manufacturing process, how they're changing their operations, how they're putting pressure on their supply chain to be more sustainable, and in some cases developing products that are more sustainable. That's an investment, an order of magnitude I think we haven't seen in quite some time. And the executives of tomorrow who are being trained in these MBA programs have sustainability on their curriculum, and it informs almost every course they're taking. So it's the language of the young people, of the young executives, So from that point alone, we as marketers have to understand, you know, what that will be in the future as well. Is there a marketing opportunity in what brands are doing? They're doing all of this work that is contributing to a better life for all of us, and yet very few brands are marketing it. My point and my stance is they've probably been a bit too cautious. People want to know. There's a whole emerging target segment of young people who are prepared to spend their money with brands that are contributing to social, the betterment of mankind and the planet. But they don't know who those brands are. Therein lies, I think, some of the opportunity is for brands to speak up and make people aware, you know, of what they're doing. Most brands right now are doing it through corporate communications, public affairs. It's been very much contained in sort of corporate affairs, but it hasn't migrated over to the marketing world. If we can get the marketing parts of those companies and those brands to align a bit more closely with the public affairs part of the business, I think then we will begin to see what are some of those marketing opportunities. There are a number of brands that are getting it right. Coca-Cola is doing an excellent job of it. Not just from a action, what the actions that they're doing, but how they are bringing that into the marketing arena. It's done in a way where people are not cynical about it. They don't think it's greenwashing. It's imparting a lot of trust into that brand. It's adding to the trust of the brand. I think Levi's is another example of a brand that is starting to do more around that. It's their core DNA. They're part of their brand pillars, and they're starting to make more about it, noise about it. Starbucks does a good job of it. So we're seeing brands that, it's very much a part of what they're doing. It's very much a part of what their brand story is about as well. And consumers are rewarding that, not just with trust, measures of trust, but also with their business.
Okay, so we've just been reporting on brands and their ability to sell and market sustainability. Well, the Blue Moon agency here in Johannesburg and their partner Earth Patrol have put that concept into practice at a carbon neutral event for the launch of the new Hisense factory in Cape Town.
Earth Patrol was established in 2007 with the intention of providing sustainability solutions for corporate businesses in South Africa, focused on carbon management, green building solutions, and working with groups like Blue Moon to facilitate their journey into the low carbon economy. We were engaged by Blue Moon with an interest on their side to understand what green meant for their business and what this growing green trend was all about.
We started a program called Green at Heart, and it runs throughout the organization. And we really wanted to get our people on board as to what does this actually mean, and to educate them, because it means if they're doing it within our organization and while they're at work, they're also then taking that home when they go home at the end of the day.
It's an uphill battle initially, always, to raise awareness, to explain why this is important or how is it material to your day-to-day job. But over time it starts making natural sense, specifically when it becomes part of the work process. So if a green event is being produced, the thinking that's gone into making a more efficient operating environment within the business now starts getting kind of projected onto the workload as well, and it marries the ideas, and you can really understand the value where that's being created. The Hisense event was the first carbon neutral event for both the brand Hisense as well as for Blue Moon delivering the production, and involved mitigating the impacts of producing and executing the event by going carbon neutral. That was achieved on sort of two steps. The first was reducing as far as possible in the very planning of the event what emissions would ultimately occur. For example, choosing to host the event within existing facilities that Hisense already owned, which was their factory, kind of designing the theme and the aesthetic of the event around the integration of high tech and nature, which also then aligns with Hisense's own brand sort of ethos, and looking at every single sort of stream and process and consumable that could be influenced throughout the production and execution of the event, and where sort of less impactful or more efficient reductions could be put in place.
They've got a huge focus now in terms of home appliances and making them as energy efficient as possible, and they're doing fantastic things, you know, in that area. I mean, it's phenomenal what the reduction is on things like fridges and things like that, the difference that it can make in your home just by the types of appliances that you actually buy and use. This was a company who really wanted to put their money where their mouth was and actually commit to this. So when we went to them and said, you know, our concept for the launch event was living legacy. So the whole thing was around creating a living legacy for the community that they were going into, and for them as a company. And we began right from the outset looking at how could we make this event as energy efficient as possible, using the trees that we were going to plant post-event to offset the carbon footprint, but we used those as part of the decor. Stuff like the branding, it goes from everything that you can look at and say, okay, well, you know, we have to have branding, we have to have signage, we have to have all those kind of elements to an event, but let's make it all generic and let's make it reusable so that they can store it and reuse it again, or make it out of materials that are biodegradable. Even down to things like their name tags, which we made out of seeded paper, so that the guests attending the event could then take their name tag home and plant it in their garden and potentially grow a tree themselves.
It's just about approaching day-to-day things with a slightly different point of reference, which is a reference of conservation and reduction. Everyone involved, all the stakeholders, needed to adjust some of their thinking, including Blue Moon's production team, ourselves, learning about how events are executed, the clients itself, a lot of the suppliers, and there was a certain level of eagerness from everyone involved to, if nothing else, at least understand what this was all about, and where possible, try and contribute as much as possible to the ultimate objectives that we wanted to achieve. Saving electricity, saving materials and resources saves money. If you go as far as going carbon neutral, in the case of the Hisense factory launch, that's now requiring additional external investment. So in this instance, that carbon neutrality or that footprint was offset through the planting of trees, both on the site of Hisense, where they've built a soccer field and a basketball court for their staff, at a local Saxon Sea primary school, as well as a reforestation program in the Platbos Forest in the Western Cape. And the combined effect of that tree planting enabled them to achieve carbon neutrality in a social approach. So we looked very specifically to benefit the local community, to benefit the local biodiversity, to not try and purchase something that's remote and immaterial to the brand, but very much to keep it in line with what they're trying to achieve in Atlantis with that community.
Coming up on Mags on Media, we'll take a trip down memory lane as the airline Mango wants you to seize the day.
News that moves. ENCA.com.